So I'm Wendy Pusczan, and I am from the Chicago market. I live in the Chicago suburbs of Naperville, and we do cover most of the Chicagoland area, including the city and the suburbs. But we do focus more on the suburbs, um, and pretty much cover from Wisconsin to Indiana. So we have a big coverage area. Um, And as far as my team goes, I have a very small, tight-knit team. It's basically myself and my husband. And then we have two virtual assistants that we're leveraging that's new to our team in the last year. We just transitioned to a new transaction coordinator who's literally been life-changing. So, if you're not happy, don't be afraid to make a move. I was staying stagnant with somebody that wasn't getting me to the next level, and I was afraid of change because I didn't want to I didn't want to have to start over, and this starting over was so easy because this person was like up and running, knew what they were doing, and jumped right in. And oh my God, it's like already in a short time changed my life. But it's just us two, my husband and myself, that are the kind of team leads, and then that's it. And we have a group of people that we leverage as showing agents when we need to. So,
Okay.
but mostly it's just my husband and myself.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's the reason why we're in the room together when
Yeah.
we're in Austin because we're small but mighty. So
Yep.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I have been so reluctant over all these many years to really change that and add team members because I tell folks I'm okay putting food on Destiny's plate, who she's my right hand. But if I'm going to be responsible for others, and I know that's probably the wrong attitude to have, I have a hard time being responsible for two, three, 10 team members. But maybe my problem, Wendy, is I don't think big enough, maybe. So I don't know. I battle with that. So
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I agree. I feel the same way. I feel like for me, and there's other people in my office here locally that have decided to venture out and grow a team, and they're very successful with it. But for me, I know what I represent to my clients and what I offer, and um, I always hate when I am looking for a referral partner, and then you interview somebody, and then you think you got a great person, and then they pass it off to someone on their team, and they're not as well represented
Right.
as you would like. So, um, if you're happy with where you're at, I think there's nothing wrong with staying
Right.
small and mighty. I like those words.
Right. Now let me ask you this. And am I mistaken? I thought that you had added your daughter Jade to the team.
Okay, so my daughter and her wife did get licensed this
Okay.
year. They just started in March, but I didn't add them to my team.
Okay.
I've added them for leverage. So they started their own team,
Okay.
um, but they are helping me as by showing agents,
Okay.
um, so I can help them get some cash going while they're getting their team up and running. So we work together, but they're not on my team officially.
Got it. Well, is that one of the reasons why one you're a supporter anyway? And again, I think because I consider us friends and I stalk everybody's Facebook pages and stuff. So the flags that you've got flying, the freedom and the equality, is
Yeah.
clearly that's important to you,
Well, I definitely consider myself a huge ally even before my
yes.
daughter came out. But yeah, that's something that I don't talk politics and I don't talk religion on social media because I feel like that's a very personal thing. And obviously in this business, um, you have to be careful what you say and who you alienate.
Hmm.
But I do feel so strongly about that part of my life that I do like to be very out if you will, with my
Mhm.
ally um, situation. But yes, my daughter is part of the LGBT community, so that's always been something important to me. But even before that, I have so many friends that are in that community too.
And see, I feel like we don't have to hide that because, like
No,
you, some of my best clients are in that community, and I've always embraced them. That's the reason why they've continued to come back to me and refer me because they know I understand, and I treat them exactly the way I want to be treated, with kindness and respect. And so, I appreciate you sharing that. So I know it's
yeah.
important. My nephew is part of that community. I don't care. I love him
Well,
anyway.
it was kind of interesting to me. I did post a picture that you're referring to that on Flag Day I had the American flag out and then I had the Pride flag out.
Hmm.
And I didn't really think too much of it. I just posted the picture and said, I hope that this represents freedom for not just Americans, but freedom for all people. And I got such an outpouring of love for that post.
Yeah.
But I did have some people unfollow me that day.
Sure.
And then I thought, oh my God, good riddance, goodbye. I don't need you.
100%. 100%. Yeah,
So sometimes you need to flush out those people.
indeed. And you know what? They're not part of our tribe, and that's okay. And
Yeah.
so, upwards and onwards. So, again, I appreciate you sharing that because every now and then I will get personal. So, and,
It's
I,
okay.
yeah, I'm not
I'm
bad
okay
for
with
that.
personal.
Good, good. Well, clearly, you know how I am, especially when I see you. There's always a big hug. So, if it's not San Antonio, hopefully it's Houston for family reunion or whatever, or a mastermind or something. Because one, that's just who I am, and I think that's what's so cool about our community is that that's how we embrace each other, right? We love catching up and loving and supporting on each other. So let's continue to do that. And I know
Of
we will.
course.
So now let's get right into some meat. So again, it's crazy because you've spent, and I'm so curious about, I mean, you spent 30 years in another, a corporate position where, climbing that ladder and success, oftentimes it meant titles and promotions. But I want to know what's one corporate habit that you had to unlearn in order to be a top 1.5% agent in America? There was something. What was it?
Well, okay. I mean, I would say the obvious, which is self-motivation and discipline, because when you're in a corporate ladder, or when you're in a corporate job, you're obviously getting a salary. When you decide to venture into real estate, it's like the Wild West of the unknown. So, um, nobody's going to put food on your table. You are responsible 100% for yourself. And it is a huge transition. I actually love talking about this. Anytime I teach a class, I will be the first to talk about my beginnings in real estate. And I did have a corporate job. I was making, a good six-figure income. Everyone always says six figures, and 100,000 is a lot different than three, 400, 500, so I was making a good six-figure income and I left that behind because I didn't like being told what to do. I didn't like to have to ask permission to take vacations. I didn't like having to travel when I had small children at home. So there was a lot of things I did not like about the corporate world, but the consistent paycheck was nice. And when I got into real estate, um, not having the benefits, not having the salary was very scary. I guess would be the best word. So discipline, hardworking, motivation, and the never giving up attitude. So I asked a lot of questions before I got into this business from a lot of people that were successful. What can I expect my first year? And people are like, oh, it's really rough. And your first year, you might not make a lot of money. And I'm like, well, like, what does that look like? And, everyone's like, well, it looks different for everyone. And it's how much work you put into it. I worked very hard my first year and I made $19,000, when I graduated from college, when I was 22 years old, I made $75,000 my first year out of school. So I was not used to making $19,000 a year. And that was so scary for me. And I hit a crossroads the end of my first year and I had to reflect and I had to say, "Oh my God, is this really for me? Like what did I do?" And I did have young kids at home and I was the primary breadwinner. So I was like, did I make a mistake? Can I keep going with this? But I saw that I was planting a lot of seeds that first year, and I saw that there was a lot in my pipeline, and I knew for myself that I had what it took. And if other people I knew were successful, I knew I could do it. So the end of that first year was like, oh my God, what am I doing? But I said, I'm going to do what it takes. I know I can do this. And I worked really hard. And my second year, I did hit back to that six-figure income. Maybe it was closer to the 100,000, but I did it and I never gave up. The first year I was in business, I did seven transactions, seven, and that's where that $19,000 came from. But of course, like I didn't cap my first year. I wasn't putting a lot of money, a lot of food on the table. So luckily, I had a little cushion saved before I did the big jump into real estate. But it's a scary world. I had to do it full time. I tell people all the time, if you do real estate part time, you're going to get a part time income. It's very hard in this business to do it part-time and really make any money in it. So it's hard for people to, that are in dual careers to leave their job, but I feel the sooner that they're able to do that, the
Mhm.
sooner that you really will be successful.
I so appreciate you sharing that because most folks who are on here week in and week out have heard my story because, like you, my very first year, I had on the corporate side, I mean, I was making 36,000, which was a good income back then,
Yeah,
almost 40 years ago. And
yeah.
my first year in real estate, I closed three deals and I made $18,000.
Okay,
And
so we're
yet
right there.
we're right there, right there. And I didn't do any for the first 9 months, and I made that money the last 3 months of the year. But I felt comfortable that I was moving in the right direction, like you. I didn't even know what pipeline was back then, but I just
Yeah,
felt like if I stuck with it and didn't quit, then I was going to prosper. And then my second year, I made the money that I'd walked away from, and then it's been onward and upward. So, again,
yeah,
I see CES class isn't on today, but and I think it's important for newer agents and even veterans who've been in it forever. You just can't give up. You just have to keep your head down. And I used to tell people that you can't quit because you don't know who's praying for you, who's supporting you, who wants to see you win. And oftentimes it's you gave up and it was the following month or the following month after that that your harvest is coming.
right.
You just don't know. So,
And I actually want to elaborate a little bit on what you said because I was similar. My first 6 months, I didn't have a sale. And it was at the end of that 6 months, I said, why am I not putting myself out there more? I was so paralyzed that, when you go to real estate classes to get your license, they teach you what you need to know to pass your license. They don't teach you what you need to know to do the business. So when you get into Keller Williams, that's where I started, um, you start taking classes. And so I was taking classes for 6 months. I was so scared to put myself out there because I felt like I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to be in front of a client and not know what I'm doing.
right,
And everyone always says fake it till you make it and all that stuff. But I was like paralyzed. And I felt like as long as I'm going in the office every day and taking a class every day, I'm working, but I'm still not making any money. So I needed to get over that fear of being in front of a client. And so I finally said at 6 months, if I don't put myself out there, there's no money coming in. So I have to start doing open houses. I need to do something to generate some income. And to your point, it's that first 6 months, I was just behind the chair in the office,
mhm,
listening to other people. Then I started doing open houses. That's where my first business came from, and social media. And within the first 3 months, I started doing open houses. I got my first client, and then I got my second client, but it took 3 months to get them under contract. So,
Mhm.
yes, to your point, my first closing was 9 months into my first
Mm.
year.
Wow. Well, you know what, that I think this is a great transition because I've got a couple other questions, but I'm going to jump straight into this one. And
Mhm.
so here it is because I think it's very timely.
Yeah,
So Gary Keller, right?
yeah.
I'd call him our guru, mentor, call him what you want to, right? So Gary Keller says, okay, Wendy, um, I need for you to start over in a city that you're not familiar with.
Oh,
Okay. In
okay.
the first 30 days, Wendy, what's the first thing that you do in the first 30? And then what's the one thing that you will absolutely not waste any time on now because of your experience, you know?
You have to put yourself out there as far as getting to meet people. So it's all this whole industry is about networking and really being yourself, but building your sphere, building your relationships, whether it's, I think can't remember one of the gentlemen that teaches with KW University, but moved to a new city and started going to a gym, joining clubs, um, networking with neighbors. Um, obviously networking with other agents in your office so that they will trust you to do the open houses. I'm a big believer when you're starting in this business, open houses is like an amazing way to get business, if you do it the right way. But for me, new agents should always be doing open houses. And Bob Lucido, who's a legend with our company, he I don't know exactly how old he is, but he's up there.
He is.
Um, and he's still doing open houses because that became his one thing. Find your one thing is another thing I'll tell people.
Mhm.
Um, and make the phone calls. Like you just can't sit and wait for business to come to you. You have to figure out a way to get the business. It doesn't happen without you doing the work. So
And
whatever that looks like.
right, right. And we used to say it here, you just can't be a secret agent.
Yeah.
And I think even if, and I think you and I would both agree that when I'm in the room with Gary Keller, I look at that guy and I'm like, he does not have the personality because you and I both know he really doesn't like you. He really doesn't, right? And I'm
Oh,
sitting here
true.
going, that guy can be, crazy successful. And I
Yeah.
think that most people who look at me think that, I'm a big time extrovert. But the opposite is really true. When I'm in the real estate space, I am. But when I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm the one who's sitting in the corner. I'm the wallflower. And so I think that, I just know when it's time to work, it's time to work, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to force myself out of my normal personality, and that's
Hmm.
not to be so outgoing and the life of the party because that's not where I'm really comfortable at. But
Oh,
and I
I
think
wouldn't have known that about you.
I know. And well, what's crazy is I think that when we're in that room, oftentimes many of us, I think, take on a personality that's not true. I look at Flora up there, she's so nurturing, right? And I look at you, it seems like everybody knows you. And Connie, everyone seems to know Connie and Catherine. And I think that when I step into that space, yes, I'm extremely friendly. I know a lot of people in that room, and a lot of people know me, but that's in the real estate space. So again,
Mm.
you said fake it till you make it, and that was a recurring theme when I first got in, and I think today it just means force yourself to get out because if you're a
Hmm.
secret agent, no one will know you, and you'll struggle in this business. You just will. So.
Well, when I started in the business, I started doing the open houses. I was posting on social media like crazy. And the thing is, like, we all know when you're doing open houses, they're not your listings. When we started in the business, we know that people are hiring other agents in the office to host their open houses. But people in the community don't necessarily know that. So I start posting pictures from my open houses, posting videos, talking about the homes. my friends and neighbors all thought I was just crushing it in real estate because I was out there every weekend, every Saturday, every Sunday, posting these videos, talking about these homes, sounding like I really knew what I was talking about, even though I was still figuring it out.
Mhm.
And they're like, wow, she's doing great. So I started getting phone calls from people I never even knew saying, oh, so and so referred me to you. They said you're a big agent in your community. I literally hadn't sold the house yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I would love to help you. How can I help you? And then, well, I'm in a closing, and this woman's like, "Was I your first client?" Somehow she figured that out, but um, I'm like, "Yeah, you were. Did I do okay?" And she's like, "No, you did great." And she actually ended up getting her real estate license because she loved watching my excitement and passion for my business. But I just had so much time to devote to her that
Yes.
I think she must have figured out I was newer. But anyway, no, that's what I mean. Like I didn't let on in any way, shape, or form that I was new. You don't have to tell people you're new.
No.
I've been in sales for 30 years, like you mentioned. It just happened to be a different industry. So I never made people feel like I was experimenting on them or I was brand new. I didn't know what I was doing. So
I love that. And I saw Matthew was on for a minute. He probably had to run. He's a young agent that I love chatting with and mentoring into. And I've told him the same thing. I need for him to put himself out there more and start posting the open houses, start posting the sales from our office because the consumers never see we. They never see the we part. They
yeah,
always think it's the I, that I just sold another one and
yeah,
I sold another one. And no, the marketing piece all says that we just sold another one. We just sold another one.
yeah,
But and I would say that not just to Matthew, but other brand new agents utilize. I mean, in our office, I'm not sure about yours, but we've got, anywhere from 550 to 600 agents at any given time.
yep,
And I mean, we are the mothership here in the Dallas area. And I'm like, man, there's so much. Just take it, use it all, and it's all marketing 101. And you'll be surprised at how that'll come back to you. Just like you said, people will think that, damn, Matthew, you're selling all these homes, man.
yeah,
Congratulations. And then all of a sudden the conversation changes when they were thinking you were brand new. And then they see this and they're like, man, this kid is out there. He's
right,
doing things. So
right.
again, let's not be bashful about it. That being said, your business at this point, where is your velvet rope? Where does the business come from? And what does the breakdown look like
Yeah.
between luxury buyers, first time home buyers, all those
Oh,
things?
I have a little bit of all of it.
Mm.
It's actually, you have to be careful. I'm learning this the hard way. You have to be careful because I have joined the luxury community. I am our regional ambassador for the luxury division for our region. I'm very involved with Keller Williams Luxury, and I feel very comfortable in that space. However, I talk so much about it. I have had clients, past clients of mine not reach out because they thought I wouldn't work with them in their price point. I'm actually right now under contract on $130,000 condo for a client on, $200,000 townhouses. I'll do $90,000 condos. I do all of that, and I'm working with $2 million buyers. So um, I don't. First of all, I think everybody needs to be represented. I'm never going to turn down business. And second of all, luxury is a service level, it's not a price point. So I like to offer a luxury experience for all my clients. You never know. I have a past client that purchased $120,000 house from me. Um, 2 years later, sold it for a $200,000 house, and now they're approved for a $1.3 million house. Like, and they keep calling me because I gave them the service level of all my clients from day one, and they felt very supported by me, so they wanted to continue to work with me. And you don't know like whose parents are watching, whose
Sure.
aunts and uncles are watching. So and it's not just about that. I just like people. I want to help those first time home buyers. I get more pleasure out of being in a closing table with a first time home buyer who's got tears in their eyes when you
Right.
hand over those keys. That gives me more pleasure than the $2 million buyer who's on transaction number 10 and they're buying a summer home.
Right.
I mean, they're all great, but
Yeah.
but the excitement and joy from the first time home buyers is something that you'll never get more pleasure out of that.
I get the exact same feeling, 100%. And especially uh, a youthful, because I just saw, I've got a notice, one of my clients is getting married. He bought his first home like I did at 20, I think he was 25 or 26. And today, when the average first-time home purchaser is 40, I'm like,
Yeah,
holy hell, there's so much time left. I mean, it's not wasted, but between 26 and 40, I had already purchased two homes or had
yeah,
three or four by that time. And
yeah.
so it's like you're kind of late arriving to the party, kind of.
Right.
And yet I still think it's time to celebrate. And so again, I appreciate those opportunities. And you're right, there's something a little special about that first timer, especially when you do it right. Because today I'm going out with my very best client who was a classmate of mine. We're now on transaction 22 or 23. So
Wow,
yeah,
Ben, that's amazing.
yeah. And it's crazy. I mean, he's a commercial broker, but he wouldn't make a move in real estate without me. And
I
so I
love that.
appreciate that level of trust. So,
That's amazing.
well, and we talk about luxury. So here's a crazy question. So what's one luxury that has absolutely nothing to do with money?
Well, okay, so I'm not sure where you're going with that, but for me, luxury is time, and whether
100%. That's
that
that's where I was
time,
going with it.
yeah, whether that means time with your family, time off, time to travel, time, time is the most valuable commodity for sure.
Indeed. And so that's exactly where I was going with it, because I think that regardless of whether you're working with someone buying a $200,000 property or a 2 million, I think the time that you spend with that client, right, and educating them and supporting them makes all the difference in the world. And if I was to review your files, I wouldn't know the difference between a two or a 2 million, because that client had been serviced and they were treated, regardless of the price point, they were treated like they were a $2 or $3 million transaction, and it was only 200. So,
Yeah.
well, again,
I have
thank you
I
for
have a
playing with.
rental client that came to Chicago and literally spent like 3 days, 24/7 with that client, helping them with a rental. But I know they're going to buy from me
Yeah,
in the future, and they've already referred clients to me. So you never know where your business is coming from.
you never know. So, uh, here's a fun question. Your team,
Okay.
which mostly is you and your husband,
Yeah.
if you guys had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Oh,
Well,
I
you
don't
heard
know a
the
specific
OJs when we opened, because I've always loved that song when I was very young,
money, money, money.
right? I've loved it. And so I wouldn't say that's my theme song, but it probably is. So if you had one, any idea?
I would have to pick a Jimmy Buffett song.
Okay.
I don't know which one because I love all of his songs, Margaritaville.
Okay.
But for me, everything I do is so that I can enjoy my family time and travel. So I love just being on a boat and enjoying a nice Sunday afternoon and listening to some good music. So I would say anything Jimmy Buffett would be my thing.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to hold you to that when we get together next. Again, we need to be playing some music or out enjoying some music somewhere, maybe a little dancing. I tend to watch, not necessarily participate. That's okay. That's all right. Well, yeah. So do you have plans to come to Mega Camp, or you're
Oh
super
yeah.
busy?
I know we only have a couple minutes, but the bulk of my business for the last 8 years has been coming from agent referrals. And it started with family reunion. I started going every year to family reunion and building a network of referral partners around the country. And then I'm like, why am I only going to one event a year when I'm getting a significant amount of business from referrals? So I started going to Mega Camp, and then I joined KW Luxury. I go to the luxury symposiums. And now I will say I travel almost once a month
Mhm.
for different conferences and events, to network and build that network and build stronger relationships. So I don't miss a good event.
No.
Jeff Glover,
Yeah.
love mega camp, love the masterminds
Right.
with Gary Keller's group. Yeah, I travel as much as I can afford to. And when I say afford, I don't mean financially, I mean time-wise.
Right, right. Well, and again, I'm glad you made that point because I tell folks all the time, it's there's so much good that comes from it, the relationships that are established. And yeah, some of the byproduct of that is referrals. And my numbers are down a little bit, but we're still trending maybe toward 20%. And you go, if one out of every five transactions comes from friends that you've met around the country at different events, and establishing those relationships and maintaining them
Yeah.
is so important. So keep doing it. And again, I so appreciate you sharing a few minutes with us. As we leave, is there one thing that I possibly should have asked you, but I didn't, that you wanna say something on? Or
Well, if this is going to new agents, one way to expand your income, especially the first couple of years, I mentioned referrals, but think people don't think about the outbound referrals. Call your sphere that doesn't live in your market. Call your friends and family that live in other cities and let them know I'm in business and you can help me grow my business by letting me know when you have friends and family or connections who are buying and selling real estate. They won't think to call you when you're in another state unless you educate them that you have built a network. And even if you haven't built a network, someone like Ben and myself, like we have the connections. Um, People will never call you and say, "Hey, who do you know in my market that can help me to buy a house?" Because they just won't think of you unless you tell them you can help me grow my business by calling me when you know somebody buying and selling, and then you're generating outbound income. And I'm doing 5 to 10 transactions every year in income coming from outbound referrals. So I could spend a whole day talking just about that, but I tell people 20% of your lead generation should be calling people that don't live in your market.
I love that you put kind of a percentage on it. So, and it's funny, I think I've got two or three going right now myself. So, you're right. And I tell people, man, those checks are really special when basically all I did is I picked up the phone
One
and I
phone call.
called, right? And and I'll tell you, it's, I haven't had probably some of the checks you've had, but I look back and I've had some $6,000 and $7,000 checks that have come in, and I'm like, holy hell, whoop whoop.
5 minute phone call.
Yes,
Yep.
no.
They're so easy and fun to get. Yes.
Well, and again, I think that's the power of community. It's the power
Yeah.
of networking, right? So let's go do the damn thing. Wendy, I love you, babe. I appreciate you sharing because there were nuggets for sure.